The Guide to Writing a Compare and Contrast Essay Outline. This lesson will help you better understand the purpose of comparing and contrasting, as well as how to write an outline for a compare and contrast essay. Compare and contrast. Often, when we compare and contrast, we use a Venn diagram. This helps us see how things are the same and also different. But before we start completing the diagram, we need to define what compare and contrast actually mean. Compare. When we compare, we look at how things are the same, or what they share or have in common. Since this is what two items share, it goes in the middle of the Venn diagram where both circles overlap. See the purple part here. Contrast. When we contrast, we look at how things are different or not alike. Since contrast means how two items are different, see these two circles, red and blue here? Each item is described in its own separate circle. Now that we know what compare and contrast means, and what a Venn diagram is, we are going to see step by step how to start our compare and contrast outline. Step 1. Complete Venn diagram. Venn diagram. Example. Let's use an example topic to help us. Let's compare and contrast dogs, A, and cats, B. First, let's look at how dogs and cats are different. On the dog circle, you see all specific information about dogs. Let me point out what is put down here. The title is dogs. Their characteristics are listed as follows. They travel in packs. They are part of the canine family. They are usually on a leash. They potty outside. They like to run, exercise. They howl, growl, and bark. They have dull, thick claws. Now, let's look at cats. The title is Cats. Their characteristics are listed as follows. They travel alone. They are part of the feline family. They are mainly inside animals. They are not usually on a leash. They potty in a litter box. They like to sleep. They meow and purr. They have sharp claws that retract. Okay, now that we see how dogs and cats are different, let's look at what they have in common. Both cats and dogs are household pets. They both have tails and claws, and they can both be trained. Perfect! Now we are done completing step 1, our Venn diagram. Now, let's move on to step 2, selecting a writing pattern. Compare and contrast writing patterns. There are two main patterns you can use to organize your essay outline. Let's call them pattern 1 and pattern 2. For pattern 1, you will explain all of one item and then explain all of the second item. For pattern 2, you will alternate between each item as you go. Pattern 1. As you can see, all of topic A is first, and then all of topic B is shown. Let's look at an example using dogs and cats. In this example, dogs are A and cats are B. If I use my Venn diagram information, I can separate my points into all about dogs and all about cats. See the circles? Now for pattern 2, things look a little different. Instead of all of A and then all of B, I will alternate and switch between A and B. Let's use our dogs and cats again as an example. Here you can see that I start with dogs and how they like to be active and with other dogs. Then I switch to cats and mention how cats like to be independent and sleep. I continue to switch between dogs and cats for each of my main points. It doesn't matter if you choose pattern 1 or pattern 2. Just be sure to choose one and stick with it for the outline part. Now it's time for step 3, starting the outline. Let's look at how we would start an outline using pattern 1. We would start with our introduction, where we would talk about how our topic has similarities and differences. Then we would shift and describe all about topic A. After that, we would describe all about topic B. After we describe each topic separately, we would start to compare them and describe how they are similar. Finally, we would conclude our writing mentioning important parts of our essay. Let's see how that would look with our example using dogs and cats. You can see for my introduction, I mentioned both dogs and cats. Then I switch and describe all about dogs. After that, I describe all about cats. Then, I list some ways both dogs and cats are similar. Finally, I mention both dogs and cats again and finish my essay outline. Now let's take a look at what using our pattern 2 would make the outline look like. We would start with our introduction, where we would talk about how our topic has similarities and differences. Then, we would describe how A and B are the same. Next, we would describe how A and B are different. Finally, we would conclude our writing mentioning important parts of our essay. Let's see how pattern 2 would look with our example using dogs and cats. You can see that I start with my introduction, where I mention both cats and dogs. Then, I talk about dogs and cats and how they are both the same in some ways. Next, I talk about the differences, how dogs do things cats don't do, and how cats do things dogs don't do. Finally, I mention both dogs and cats again and finish my essay outline. Now that you know 2 different ways to write a compare and contrast essay outline, it's your turn. You can do it!